I remember going through my first real breakup, or actually even better yet, my first real heartbreak. And a certain quote or saying that I heard a lot back then, and I'm sure that you've heard as well, is that there's plenty of fish in the sea. And you hear that when you're young and you're like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like, I know that to be a fact, right? Like, not just millions, there's billions of fish in the sea. There's billions of girls in the world. But you don't really want to accept that because you're still in the mindset of, but there's only one her. You can't really see the forest beyond the trees. I was like, yeah, I know there's billions of girls in the world, but I don't want any other girl. I want her. And I felt that way about a girl that I dated and also my quote-unquote girl best friend back then. I'm sure a good amount of you guys saw that video. And it wasn't really until I entered the dating game. I mean, I'm kind of out of it now, but it was only then when I started interacting with different women, even across the world, over in the East, when I solo traveled in Japan, Korea, Hong Kong. But it was only then when I really started to understand what that really meant. Like, there's a lot of beautiful girls in the world. Maybe a few less good ones, a few diamond in the roughs. But there really is billions of girls in the world. And since I've internalized that, I never get hung up on a single girl. Like, for a lot of you guys, some of you guys that email me, you tell me about a girl that rejected you and you really don't want to let go. And I can definitely empathize with that because that used to be me as well. But trust me, you'll be okay. You'll find someone that makes you feel those feelings, if not even more. And the reason why I'm saying this is because if I had internalized this a lot earlier, again, hindsight is always 20/20. If I understood this early on, it would have saved me a lot of time and a lot of distractions, if I'm being honest. Like, the reason why it's so hard to just keep your head down, stay low and focus, especially in today's society, to, maybe disappear or go ghost for a certain amount of time, just so that you can zone in and focus on your long-term goals, is because we have a fear of missing out. Whether it's getting girls or having fun or chasing dopamine or whatever. Again, it's one of the reasons why I got into the dating game. Just seeing and hearing about my friends sharing stories or girls that they match with or girls that they went on a date with, I felt like I was missing out, especially because I felt like I was on a dry spell since I left my long-term relationship. Actually, there was this one moment where I was in Italy with 3 of my friends. And I kind of made a short little video essay. You can go watch it if you want, but we were in Lake Como, right? A little resort town a bit north of Milan. And one of my friends was using Hinge while we were in Italy. And he actually matched with this really hot girl from Canada that was on vacation. And he never linked up with her, but we actually ran into her while getting dinner in Lake Como. And bro, this girl was like an 8.5 to 9. Like, she was bad, I'm not gonna lie. And that was what made me want to join in on the fun. I was like, I feel like I'm missing out. Like, all these beautiful girls out here and they're getting taken. Like, I want some. I want a seat at the buffet. Now, but especially in the era of social media, like, you see them everywhere. And the reason why I'm making this point, right, the reason why I emphasize girls as a main driver or point to staying low, or why it's better to keep your head down and move in silence, is because, let's be honest, women and getting girls is a huge motivator for a lot of guys. Like, as beautiful as it would be if we all had God or seeing the best version of ourselves or purpose, impact, or fulfillment, all the esoteric stuff as the main driver for success, that's just never going to be the reality. Most guys want to be rich to get girls. Most guys want to be successful to get a line at the buffet. Not only is it a biological imperative, but most guys grow up not really getting girls. Most of us probably share the exact same stories of heartbreak, rejection, liking your friend, unrequited love, etc. Just kind of being invisible. And a lot of guys secretly dream or fantasize about the day that they get to turn the tables, where that's no longer the case. And that used to be the case for me maybe 2-3 years ago, but I kind of got that out of my system. To where now I'm able to stay low-key, move in silence, because I know how unfulfilling that is. And it makes it a lot easier to stay focused. Even though sometimes I get that itch, I'm always reminded of what's important. And on top of that, because we're in this social media era, there's so much pressure to flex and prove to others that your life is going well in order to validate your existence. It's become extremely hard to just stay low-key and keep your head down because everyone's got a fear of missing out. But honestly, if you're willing to invest 2-3 years into staying low-key, moving in silence, not being on social media, not trying to flex, not trying to chase girls, chase sex all the time, chasing dopamine, not chasing parties, and really just dial in and focus, eventually your time will come. As a matter of fact, I find it really hard to believe that if you really do focus and invest like 2-3 years with nothing but that one goal in mind, obviously you'll hang out with your friends and family every now and then, maybe a date once in a blue moon. But for the most part, just locking on that one single goal for 2-3 years, I don't see how it's possible that you don't achieve or at least get close to whatever your goal is. It's just that most people aren't willing to do that because you think 2-3 years and you think of everything that you'll miss out on. Every innovation in the modern age is geared towards instant gratification in some aspect. Patience is a virtue that not many people have anymore. Most people want everything right away. Most people want everything instantly. Very few people are willing to put their head down and grind. It's also why in the era of social media, everyone feels the need to flex or show every aspect of their life. Like, you don't have to take a mirror selfie every time you go to the gym. And on social media, you get to hide behind a front talking about doing something or posting about it. It makes you feel like you actually accomplished it before you actually did anything. Like, really try to stay low key, keep your head down, and eventually know that your time will come. Like, the parties aren't gonna go anywhere. The fun is always going to be there. Beautiful girls are not going anywhere. Again, there's billions of fish in the sea, but the same thing can't be said for your time. Like, go flex your success after it's real, because when it's real, you won't have to flex anything. It's like if you've been working out, if you've been going to the gym, you won't have to post about going to the gym every single time. People will just be able to see that you've been putting in the work, whether it's losing weight or getting buff or getting a six-pack or whatever. You won't have to say anything. Like, when you truly elevate, there's going to be a certain energy that's going to radiate off you. And another reason why you should stay low and move in silence is because along with protecting yourself from distractions, you're also protecting yourself from negativity. The reality is most people aren't going to see your vision, especially if you're trying to be above average. The more low-key you are, the less you'll have to explain or justify your moves to anyone, or even cater to certain opinions around you. It's also kind of why I don't ever talk about my channel to anyone around me. I've directly told maybe 2 people, but most people I know don't even know that I make videos. And I plan on keeping it that way for as long as possible. Not because I'm like shy or embarrassed about it, but I just like to protect my creative process. For example, right, I wouldn't have been able to make the video on when I was down bad for my girl best friend, telling pretty much most of the story from my perspective, if I knew that she was watching the channel. Like, I would have been looking at this camera and then thinking about her watching it from the other end. And then that definitely would have messed with my process. Now, realistically, she's probably going to see it eventually. But again, that goes back to my point about when you have real success, you won't have to flex or tell anyone. I mean, not like that's the point, right? Like, I made this to chase impact, to create a community, to share ideas, to create, to try to inspire. Now, I'm definitely not going to act like sacrifice isn't a part of the equation. Like, oh, just keep your head down and stay low key and grind and then come up after you made it. Like, realistically, you're going to sacrifice a lot, especially in terms of relationships. That's just how it is. Everything has an opportunity cost. I mean, I guess this doesn't necessarily have to be the case if everyone around you is on the same wave, but that's most likely not going to be the case. Doesn't mean you're going to have to straight up lose friends or cut them off or family, but relationships are going to take a hit. But I think if you want your situation to change, if you want more, you're going to have to sacrifice. It's going to come in some way, shape, or form. Like, there's no getting around that. And honestly, something that could help is that most people you're in competition with. For example, right, most guys have a pretty universal sense of what a beautiful girl is. Like, the girl you like, the qualities that you're attracted to, so do a million other guys. And the same thing applies to either the job you want, a position you want, a school you're trying to get into. Like, everybody is your competition to a certain degree. Like, there's naturally going to be a lot of conflict of interest, especially in the game of capitalism. Not that that's a bad thing, but that's the reality. So I guess in a weird way, while everyone else is distracted, you can move under the radar. You know, you can kind of make your moves in silence. And the last thing that might help is try to clearly define that long-term goal that you have. And try to visualize not just achieving that goal, but the version of yourself that's going to be achieving that goal. Whatever you look like at that point in time. And then, you know, most people will tell you to break down those goals into actionable steps. And then try to be really conscious of the important decisions that you make along the way. As hard as it is, as much as you might feel like you're missing out, just know that if you're willing to stay low, keep your head down, invest 2 to 3 years and dedicate yourself to that one single goal and visualize that version of yourself, your time will come. Anyways, pretty good yap session. Hopefully you got some from that. Thank you for listening. I love you. I appreciate you. And with that said, make sure you stay true, and I'll talk to you real soon. Peace. Now see, back then she told me I was a virgin and I just believed her. In retrospect, she definitely was not. And I'll tell you why.